Good morning, guys, and welcome back to the show. Today, we're going to dive into just adding some features until we can find a tutorial topic that will be interesting for you enough for its own video. So, thanks for joining us, guys. If you've never been here before, this podcast is all about watching pro programmers code and looking at the thought process and the way that professional programmers create things. So you're going to see me Google things as we go. You're going to see things debugged. I'm going to talk about different strategies of ways things can be created and different resources that I use to find out what I'm going to do. So, since last episode, I've done some things. Basically, I've gone and styled our budget app. Well, this is my idea of styled, I guess. Still a little bit ugly, but at least it's organized and there's some color scheme. And to do this, I actually went and added Sass support to our application. So now we have this SCSS, so you can see like nested, we've got nested CSS blocks as part of Sass. We've got variables, so we can set our set some variables for like the colors of our color scheme. I created a mixin that creates a button, so we use this mixin and basically this creates one of these cool buttons over here, and we'll make them nicer later. But all the buttons are created using that create button mixin. What else has happened since McGregor and Mayweather fought? McGregor fought pretty well, all things considered, and then Mayweather kicked his butt just like everybody thought. And I got back from Yakutat, Alaska. I went on a fishing trip with my family. That was really fun. Came back with 65 pounds of fish, so not a bad haul. Let's see, looks like we are good to go. Alright though. And we are good to go. So let's dive in. So the latest feature idea that I thought would be useful is being able to add or to flag an expense as a savings, and show all this different savings in another page, and maybe even project where savings are going to go, so that so you can visualize how your savings will grow. So that should be pretty fun. So at this point, our budget app is pretty simple. You can add income streams. You can add expenses. So expense might be like tacos, $10, create. Yeah, whatever. So what else can we do? We've got different budgets. The ability to delete budgets, create budgets. Yeah. So let's go and let's add a new feature now. So we're going to create a budget called Saver. Let's say we make $2,000 a paycheck. Oops, paycheck. Once a month. And Now I want to create a new type of expense called, let's say just like savings account. And let's say we save $100 a month into that savings account. So now I think what we could use is a button over here that or a button right here on this item that marks this as savings, I think. We could either do it that way or we could do it in the savings view. For now, let's put a button here for savings. We go into our app.js or budget.js, I guess. We're going to look for that create button. Yeah. So this is an income stream. We want the create new expense button. Or is it the delete button actually? Yeah. We want the delete button. Change new expense name, create new expense. Okay, so that button is in this budget expense component. And what we will do is add another button right here. And we will call that savings. It's going to be, I mean, what it really is it's flagging it as savings, so I don't know. But I'm going to give it a class of primary button. I think that's a class that we have. If we go, yeah, we can see that it's going to create a blue button there for us. And I may go back and talk about how the Sass stuff ended up working out. It took a long time to figure out with the React Create app. So there will probably be an episode on that someday about using Sass with the React Create app. It wasn't like too difficult, but it wasn't that straightforward either. Okay, so now we should have a button on our expense. There it is, savings, except we want that to show up side by side. So let's figure out why it's not doing that. So display inline block should be just fine. But our width here, we need to make the width larger. And we're going to want to give this some padding or some margin to the left, I guess. So there, it is early, guys. It's 6:22 local time. Okay, that looks pretty good right there. So we're going to give it a margin left of 5 pixels to every button that is not the first. And we're going to set the height or the width of this column so that all these columns line up to 135. So let's do that. I think this is it right here, 135. And what else? We need to also, I guess really this belongs on budget CSS. All this stuff does though. Let's see what kind of so we can just say any button. For now we can say any button in this 4th row except for the first one, pad to the left 5 pixels. So this is our fourth column here because it is the 1, 2, 3, 4th column. And so we've set the width to 135. And then we're going to say, and how does that work? Yeah, any button inside of here, so we're using Sass, so any button inside of there that is not first. I can't remember exactly how we used the not. There we go. So I'm just ripping this off here. So not the first child. Put a margin left of 5 pixels, and that's going to space out, hopefully. And it did, see? So now all of our columns line up and they look nice here. And we have a nice margin there. So now we need to, oh, whoops, copy paste. So our savings just deleted our savings button does what the delete button does. So I guess we could wire up a new action. Let's see. So we want to be able to click this savings here ideally and see this in this new page that, well, it doesn't exist yet, the savings page. So let's go and add in the back end a flag that says whether or not an expense is savings, I guess. Let's see. So I'm going to fire up PHP Storm, my favorite IDE for PHP. There it is. There it is. Okay. So here's PHP, PHP Storm. Now let's head over to our income stream object. Let's get rid of all this first. And yes, so we're going to go to the expense object, and we want to add a flag here. And I'm wondering, should we call it tags? Would be probably a pretty special type of tag if we tagged it as a tag. Added a tag. Yeah, I think that's what we'll do. For now, we're going to see if we can do this, and we'll create a property called tags, and that tags if the expense is a savings expense, it'll have a tag like this of savings, something like that. And then that way we can do like savings, retirement. We could tag an expense as like tax related, things like that. So we'll see. We'll see how that is, or how that works for now. And I think I'm going to create. Yeah, okay, so we can do like a in the database I want it to save as this, but I'm not sure exactly. We want to be able to query expenses that are savings, but I'm just not sure. How we want to structure this in the database. Let's take a look at Doctrine. We need to go and see how Doctrine will allow us to store that type of data. We might even doctrine tags. Doctrine persist array of tags. Maybe they even have, yeah. Many to many do need an extra link to a blog post or a tag. We don't need a blog link tag entity. Good morning. Let's see. Yeah, so we're going to look into doctrine array collection. Whoops, I want the actual docs. Okay. Advanced topics. What? Okay, yeah, so for now we're going to just create many-to-many, and we'll see how that treats us, and maybe in another episode we will refactor this. I don't know. The reason that I don't necessarily want to do the many-to-many with Doctrine, the vanilla way, is that it's going to use IDs for foreign keys, and sometimes it's nice to see in the database, in the column, exactly what the value is instead of having to look at a foreign key. I'll show you guys what I mean after we get going with this. So let's find many-to-many. The following example shows a unidirectional association. This one is bidirectional. I don't think we're going to need that one. Yep, just one directional probably. Yep. Alright, so we're going to need this many-to-many join table. Yeah. So let's go ahead and create a new entity. And that's going to be called tag. And we're going to create a constant here for the savings tag. Const and I'll show you how we use that in a minute. We need to go and import our Doctrine ORM stuff here. So we're going to rip off what we used in the expense entity. So we're going to import the ORM here. We're going to mark it as an entity with Doctrine, and we're going to call it the table tag. Yep. So each tag is going to have an ID, I think. Yep. And it's also going to have a name or whatever, I guess. And that should probably do it, I think. Now we just need to create our columns so those IDs are automatically generated, and they're going to be integers. And then the name's going to be a string. We can just copy the name of this expense here. We're never going to, hopefully, have a tag name of over, say, 50 characters. So make that a little shorter. And we'll create getters for everything, maybe. First constructor. Do we need a constructor? Yeah. There we go. And we'll create a getter for this. And after that, we should be good to go. Now what we really need to do, we need to be able to query expenses that have this savings tag, unfortunately. So we might want to make the key, can we make the key a string? I don't know, I'm kind of confusing myself here, guys. We're going to keep moving. It's still early. Yeah, so let's go ahead and create this tags many-to-many relationship on our expense object. So we've got tags, and that is going to be an ORM. It's going to be a many-to-many. And this ORM is coming from this flag this class we imported up here. Let's take a look at how this is done again. Many-to-many, unidirectional. So we need to add a target entity and a join table. So I'm going to copy and paste exactly from the doctrine docs how this looks. And that our target entity is going to be tag and expense tags, and our join table will be expense tags there. I'm going to do a little bit of formatting. So the join table, it's going to create a new table that relates our expenses to our tags. And that table is going to be named expense tags. Have fun.
Hi.
And our join column is going to be expense ID, and that's going to reference the column name tag ID for tag. But it would be really cool if we could reference, what if we could reference it by name? That's what we really want here. I'm going to see if this will work. On the other side, inverse join columns. This is interesting. What is unidirectional? I don't know what this inverse join column does. User groups, user ID, group ID. Okay. Doctrine using string for primary key. Can you do that? Yeah, so maybe maybe we can make our primary key for the tag the name, so that, and this way when we're referencing the tag from anywhere else, we're going to see the name. So we're going to try and do that. Column. Interesting. You can now, that's kind of cool, you can do the annotations like this, ID column, instead of doing it on two different lines like we did here. That's cool. So this is going to be our primary key now. So yeah, in our expense, we're going to reference that name. So expense ID. And oh, that's going to reference the expense. Okay, that's going to reference expense, the ID field on the expense, which is here. And the inverse join columns, we're going to have, we're going to call it tag, and that's going to reference name. Okay, so this name, reference column name corresponds to our tag name here. Okay, that's better. Now it's kind of starting to make sense. Next thing we need to do is we're going to want to add a tag. We need to add the ability to add a tag. So let's take a look at how we did arrays before, adding items which are arrays, and we did that in our budget object a while ago. Okay, so first of all, we labeled our we started out with empty arrays for objects, and we annotated them like this. One second. Yes. The next thing we did was we instantiated a new array collection in the constructor. So for expense, we're going to add this tags, and I'm doing it in the order. See how we have the order up here: amount, name, tags, budget. So I just added the, I'm adding the tags creation in that same order, and that is, it's a better way to do things, guys. It is. But honestly, I think I want to put tags underneath here. Yeah, you should try and order things intelligently. There's no like real standard of how to order different lines of code that don't need to be ordered, but you should try to make things as clear for the reader in the future as possible. So somebody that opens your code, they should be able to scan down here, see amount, name, budget, tags, and then look in this constructor amount, name, budget, tags, so that they can easily find out more information about those variables. Same goes for the getters and setters and things down here. Just think about how you order code, even if the ordering of those lines of code is like non-deterministic, even if it doesn't matter what line they come in as far as the compiler goes, it still does matter to the readers of your code, and they will thank you later. So we need to add a get tag function, and we're going to need to do a remove tag, or not get tag, maybe get tags. And we're going to also need a function called add tag, and that's going to take a tag, new tag, and maybe, and then also a function called remove tag. to remove. And we'll call this to add. I do a lot of thinking about what's the name variables to make things really clear. So if we didn't have this type hinting, I would call this probably just tag to add. But since we have the type hinting here, we know that this to add is going to be of type tag. And so we know that this is the tag to add as far as the reader goes of the code. So what we do there is we go here, we go tags, and I think we should be able to see. Let's go look at our budget, what we did again. To add, we did, okay, just like that. That's how we used it. And to do to get income streams, we call it to array on our array collection. So we're going to return this tags to array. Forget tags, and I want to label this as a variable. Sorry, I wish I had a space there. Label this as an array collection, and I want to see if this will work. I don't think it will. Or an array. Yeah, there's no generics in PHP. That's silly. Or an array of tags. Yeah. So adding tags is just going to look like this. We're going to add our to add. We're not checking to see if there's duplicates just yet. We may run into an issue where we can't have duplicates. Not sure. Removing a tag. I think we're going to be able to, let's see, tags, is there a remove? There is. And you can remove by, let's look at the docs to remove. So I'm just clicking in here to see, well, not a lot here, but what does this do? It looks to see if there's an element at that key, and if it does exist, it deletes it. The other one is there's a remove element, and it's going to search. I think what we want to do is use this remove element. I'm not sure. We'll have to test this later and see if this works. So now we should be able to add a tag, remove a tag, and get tags. And our expense should hydrate this information. We should get all this tags information available to us at the time of when we're pulling our expenses down. So let's go ahead and we're going to go into our terminal and hit the API. And we're going to need to rerun the doctrine schema update. I'm going to remove this force flag for now and just run with dump SQL so that we can see what we're doing. Many to many was never imported. So you know what? We forgot to prefix this with ORM because we imported this. We accidentally added this, it looks like. Yeah, so we just need to prefix all of our doctrine annotations with this ORM. So let's go here. The annotation join column was never imported. Prefix. And I'm just reading the error message and reacting to it I mean, this is a pretty good, Symfony is great with error messages, the Symfony ecosystem doctrine included. The annotation join column and property, this tells us exactly where it is, was never imported. Did you maybe forget to add a use statement? And I think if we need more information, we could add a verbose flag. Oh, well, now it's fixed. But yeah, so these are the, or a debug flag or something like that. These are the commands, or the MySQL instructions it's going to use to create the database schema for this new tags and the tags join table. So it's going to create table expense tags with an expense ID and a tag. It's going to create, primary key of expense and tag. So we're not going to be able to have duplicates, I think. Create table tag with just a name. That is cool. Alter table expense tags. Blah blah blah. That's just creating foreign keys. So yeah, so that's good. So now we're going to run that with the force flag. That's going to execute that. And now that we've done this, we're going to want to send tags down. We're going to need to add 2 new endpoints. So we'll go to our budget controller, and we have this add expense, but now we're going to need to go and we're going to have to create a function or a controller, add tag to expense, and that's going to take, it's going to get the request, because that's how Symfony works. It gives us this request, but then it's also going to take tag, and that's going to be the tag name. So let's copy this boilerplate here for adding a new API route, and so tag, so budget ID expense, tags, and if we post to this endpoint, I want to add a tag, so we'll call that tag there. So if we post to budget slash whatever the budget ID is slash expense slash we're gonna need expense ID here slash tags, and then the name of the tag here, then we'll mark that the name of the tag to add. Then we want to, so we've got our we've got a budget ID here, but I don't think we're going to need it. So we're going to look up our expense. We're going to look up our expense by ID since we have that. So we're going to do expenses, find, flag this as an entity manager. And we're going to find an expense by our expense ID. So our expense is here, and I'm going to mark this as an expense so that my IDE knows that expense has a, there we go, an add tag method, and we're going to take, I guess we need to find a tag. Well, I don't know, maybe this will just work, we'll see. We're gonna add a tag. New tag. I suspect that this is not going to work, but we'll see. We were doing something similar. All we want to do is we want to add a tag by name in a similar way to us adding something by ID before. I'm trying to recall what we did here. See if there we go. So this get reference. This get reference works. I think we should be able to get a reference to a tag by tag name without actually having to query the database. That's the idea, at least, guys. So let's give that a shot. So instead of going to the database to find our tag, we are going to instead just look up or use this emGetReference, which no docs there either, but that's going to return us a tag, I think. Right? Can I go to the docs? No. And we're going to add that tag to our expense. And at the end, I want to probably return the budget again, the entire budget. But for now, let's just return a successful response. I want to see how if this is close to working, and if it is, great. If not, whatever, we'll fix it. And then the final thing we need to do while we're in this API is look for where we serialize our budget, so that when we send it down to the front end. And we want to add a new field to expenses called tags, and that's going to be we're going to map over our tag. We're going to return tag get name. So now this tags are going to be an array just of the tag names. Hopefully. Yeah. And I cannot wait until PHP has shorthand functions like that. I don't know if they ever will, but they make things a lot nicer in the JavaScript land and Scala land, and I think Java land now too, the shorthand anonymous functions. Okay, so that ought to do it, I think. Let's just see if our project still works. So let's go to the saver here. Oh, well, that's still loaded, so that's a good sign. So now we need to implement this savings button. So when we click this, we want to, what do we want to do? We want to add the tag and probably gray out this field or something, mark it as disabled. That would be probably pretty cool UI. So let's go back into WebStorm to our front end code base and go to, we're already in, are we in the budget? No. Go to our budget.js and we're going to add a new savings button press prop. So it's going to get the savings button press from the props, and this is being used here. So we need to pass and we haven't implemented this method yet, but add savings tag, or maybe just this add tag to expense, expense.id, and savings. All right. So we need to go implement this now. I'm going to go, since this delete button press is going to be so similar, this delete expense, I'm going to copy this because I'm going to need that. I'm going to click on command click this to jump to where this is in the code base. I'm going to highlight the whole thing, and I'm going to hit command D to duplicate it, and then I'm going to just copy or paste in the new method name. Add tag to expense. We know it takes a second parameter called tag, and the next thing we do is, I guess, we find that expense. We're going to ignore this for now, but we're going to eventually add that tag in memory so that we don't have to wait for the API response, so that it's really responsive on our front end. Let's see. Load budget bind this. Doesn't look like we're using that. So we can delete that there. We're not using that there. Same goes for this. We're not going to use it here either. So we're going to do post to, okay, so before we had our route, if you remember, we had a budget ID in our route, but we don't need that. So we're going to get rid of this bit. And we don't need that argument there. So our path is going to be actually our API endpoint slash expense slash whatever the expense ID is slash tags slash and then the tag to add, and we're going to call that tag to add there. If you remember, I talked about how type hinting lets us document or self-document our code a little better, so we wouldn't need to create this as tag to add, because we'd be able to say type hint that it's a tag and then to add. But since we're in JavaScript, we don't have that luxury of type hinting yet, so I'm going to name the variable a little more descriptively. Tag to add, and let's just make sure this matches up with our API endpoint here, tag slash tag to add. Yeah, so that looks good. So in theory, this is going to add our tag in theory. Now in memory, we're going to do expense this should be expenses probably, but we're not going to mess with that just yet. So this should be expenses with newly tagged expense, and we're not going to filter out our expenses. What we're going to do is we're going to map over our expenses. And if expense ID equals the expense ID of this yeah, if the expense ID is equal to this expense ID that we just added the tag, we're going to go in and we're going to do expense dot tags dot push. Tags are going to be an array now. Our tag to add, and we'll see if that works. Then we're going to set our expenses state. So let's see what happens. Well, everything compiled, so that's good. I'm going to just put our console over here on the right so that we can see a little better. Let's tag. I'm going to tag it as savings. Oh, that still deleted it. I think. Let's see what kind of network requests we made. Yeah, that's gonna delete, so copy paste issue probably. Yeah, savings button press. We forgot to set that as savings button press. So that should reload for us if it hasn't already. And savings 100. So we're creating here. Ooh. Looks like we broke our add expense endpoint somehow. Let's see, so income works just fine, but adding an expense does not work, so. Oh, and I think that's because we copied this, and yep, budget expense, expense tag add. See, I don't think you can, this name field has to be unique most likely, and that's probably what's kicking our butt here. So savings, we fixed it in our API, create, and there it is. And now we're going to tag it as savings. Yeah, so it tried, and we can see the request right here. But cannot read property ID of undefined. So it doesn't like on line 225 on our front end. And it looks like that may have worked on the back end. I'm not sure. Well, this is not line 225 at all. State expenses. Maybe it is. Oops. I don't know. I'm gonna refresh this real quick and let's see what's going on here. Let's take a look at our budget and see. Okay, that's our budget ID. See if our expense got its tag. It did not get a tag. So tag adding did not work. Alright, no worries. It sent the right request, which was nice. I think what we need to do is go in and add a default oops, use my money manager. We may get select all from tag. Oh, I'm doing here. Insert into tag name, guys, savings. Select all from tag. Yep. For that matter, let's look at our expense. So there's our savings. And select so yeah, it never added that field, but now it might actually, since we have that no, we don't. It didn't work. No access control allow origin headers present. So it looks like we're blowing up on the back end before we can return our header. So let's go and let's tail the logs in there and see why that is. Not sure what's breaking at this point. But something is broken. Yep, so we're gonna hit our savings route, and do we see any errors in here? We don't, unfortunately. Saying that no access control allow origin header can be found, but don't know why that would matter. Let's just try using curl. I don't think it likes. I think it's failing silently. This. So instead of doing what we did here, we're going to do tag and we're going to do find tag. Oh, we're doing a reassignment here, which I don't like, so I'm going to call this tag name find by tag name. Let's see if this works. I wish we were getting error messages. We're not. I'm just going to send another post request at that. There we go. That looks better. I was saying something about headers already being sent, which is weird. Saving. Oh man. Savings. Mark that as savings, and do we get something? No. Well, we're seeing something. Controller budget add tag to expense requires that we provide a value for the tag name argument. Yes. Okay. So at least we're getting error messages this time. So the problem is that we need to call that tag name there. That. Using curl to debug because our Chrome is not working that well. Call to a member function, add tag on null. Okay. For whatever reason, this is null. So we're sending expense 58. Do we have an expense called 58? We do. In theory, you would think that this would work. Can't read property ID of undefined. Yeah. call to a member function, add tag on null. So for whatever reason, doesn't like that 58. I want to error log then. See if we can log in there. So we're just going to pass in that. And I just want to log make it a warning just so we definitely see it. Expense, ID. Well, we can see expense ID 58 there, savings, add tag on null. There's let's see, add expense, delete expense goes right in here. Oh, we also, I don't think we called flush, which would get us at the end anyways, but let's see how this works. I don't know if we do it the same way as we did when we deleted it. I don't know if it will. For ID 58 was not found. Select all from expense. Oh, it's not there anymore. So that's weird. We need to run flush at the end here, and I think we may be in business. So let's check once more. Our front end code is broken, obviously, but if we can't replay for some reason. If we go to saver here and we mark this as savings, that returns 200. Do we see our database record? Yes, we do. So tag that expense as savings. So that's sweet. Now we just need to fix our front end code to not to fail horribly when we do that. It says, what does it say? This state expenses map. expense, so I'm going back to the front end code to see what's going on. It's saying expense ID is not found, so I think what we're doing, oh yeah, you know what we're doing is, when we're adding this tag, we're not doing return, so we need to return that expense, and then maybe, just maybe, this will work, and it does. And then it should have the savings flag. And then let's just do one more thing to denote. If it does have savings, let us let's mark const has savings tag will be expense tags dot find let's see, I guess includes, huh? Yeah, so we can do includes does it include savings? So if it has savings, boom, there it is. I want to conditionally render the class name, and we did that here before, so I'm going to copy it how I conditionally added the class name to this expense. Oh. Well, yeah, we'll take this into the expense. This props tags includes savings. Yeah, we need to go back, copy this again, and we are going to do the same thing. I think if has savings tag, then we're going to give it the class name of active button. So if we have that savings tag, we're going to give it the class name active button. Otherwise, we're going to give it an active button. So let's create another one, retirement 50. And look, our savings button's disabled, and if we click it, it becomes active. I don't know if you guys can tell, but the button's going from light to dark when we set it as savings. So yeah, so that's it. So now we can tag an expense as a savings expense. Later or tomorrow or whatever, we'll probably create a view in savings that shows all the expenses that are savings, and we're going to kind of chart out, maybe project like what your savings will be and so long. So thanks for watching again, guys. As always, please leave me some comments. I want to know what I'm doing well. I want to know what I'm doing poorly. And I want to hear some ideas from you guys about what kind of tutorials we can shoot. I'm pretty much up for anything, guys. So let me know. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Goodbye, guys.